Welcome to the Nerd Party.
Welcome to Great Shot Kid, the podcast on the Nerd Party Network that looks at the overlooked pieces of film work and the behind-the-scenes technical stuff that you love to know about. I'm John.
And I'm Mike.
And this week, we're going to make one last appeal for help with the Nerd Party legal claim that we have to take care of. As you know, if you've been listening for the last couple of weeks, we got hit with a legal claim, and they basically positioned it in such a way where settling with them, since we don't have business insurance, makes more sense than trying to take them to court because we wouldn't be able to afford it. If you want to learn more about this, go to gofundme.com/thenerdparty, and there's information there about the situation that we're in. And if you can spare $1 or $2, none of this goes to operating expenses at all for the Nerd Party. This is all specifically to do with this one difficult situation that we find ourselves in. So to everybody who has supported us, we thank you very much. And if you can support us and you haven't had a chance yet, again, gofundme.com/thenerdparty, and we would very much appreciate it. Thank you. So this week, we find ourselves with some interesting news about Star Trek again, actually.
Yeah, a lot of Star Trek news, to be honest. It was like kind of an explosion over a couple days. You know, first they announced that filming, if you want to call it that, digital capturing, as I like to refer to it, on the new season of Discovery has begun with Alex Kurtzman directing the pilot, and they showed like a lot of like stills of like the new Enterprise uniforms and everything. What did you think about those?
I think they look great. I haven't had a single problem with the art direction of the series. Yeah. I think they are doing a very smart thing where they're updating and they're paying heavy tribute to what has come before without feeling beholden to it. And the Kelvinverse did an interesting move with it. And the way that they had those costumes, I thought was very interesting. They looked very cool, but I like the way these look as well. Like this is the type of thing. Like the design stuff is keeping me hooked on Discovery because I was lukewarm on the first season, but some of this design stuff is pretty exciting. I take it you liked it as well.
Yeah, I really love how like the textures and everything, and the materials and stuff, and like the sort of like patterns of the materials are basically the same as the Discovery uniforms. It's just the colors and everything are designed to match the original series. So that I thought it was really cool. And we found out that Jonathan Frakes is directing episode 2, which they're shooting right now as we speak. So that's cool. And then the next day, the CinemaCon was going on in Vegas, which is the National Association of Theater Owners Convention, and the studios trot out their product, and Paramount came out, and from what I understand, they didn't really have a whole lot of stuff to show, so they were like kind of like padding it out. So like they brought out like Christopher McQuarrie, and they're like, here's how we shot this scene from previs to final effects or something like that, like that kind of thing. But one of the things which the head of the studio just kind of casually dropped in his little speech was that not one but 2 Star Trek movies are currently in development. And this does line up with some stuff that we've been hearing from like Zachary Quinto and stuff like that recently. And in fact, the Tarantino movie is still being developed. But there's a second movie which is also being developed, which is the one with Chris Hemsworth, which is being written by J.D. Payne and Patrick McKay, and it is going to be directed by, as we found out the following day, S.J. Clarkson, who has directed. She's done like basically all TV stuff up till now, but like high-profile TV stuff. I mean, she's directed for pretty much every show, whether it's House or Bates Motel or Dexter or whatever, Heroes. But she also did a lot of episodes of the original British Life on Mars show, which I know people really like.
Oh yeah, I haven't seen that show, but I know even the American adaptation, which only lasted like a season or something, like was really beloved for the time that it was going. That's one of those ones that's always eternally on the I should check that out list.
Right. And more recently, she directed the first 2 episodes of 2 of the Marvel Netflix shows, Jessica Jones and The Defenders. So, I mean, I don't know. I love Jessica Jones, and I love the look of that show. And in particular, I think the first episode is the best episode. And I mean, it just knocked my socks off when I saw that.
I really enjoyed the pilot. I never got a chance to watch the show, as happens sometimes, but it wasn't due to lack of interest. It's just, inertia and everything like that. But I remember thinking about, I really actually, the thing that really stuck with me was I really liked the look and the pacing, but what really stuck with me was with the way the ending of the pilot was handled. I thought was really well done, and like just the choices of how things came together, I thought was really, really interesting. I've always meant to go back and watch it, but I guess, one of the... I don't know what people thought of The Defenders. I don't pay attention anymore, really.
I think they pretty much thought, like, okay, we've waited forever for you guys to get, this all together, and finally, you've all been building up to this, but it took you forever because you did 2 seasons of Daredevil, and then Iron Fist was just a mess, and then by the time Defenders comes out, everyone was kind of like, we've waited so long that we've lost interest, but now that it's here, let's see what you got. And then when they watched it, they were like, that's it? Okay, can we just not do this whole Defenders thing anymore and just go back to doing individual seasons of all these shows that we actually like, except for Iron Fist? That's kind of the reaction to that show.
Well, I personally liked The Defenders. It's not the best show I've ever watched in my life, but I enjoyed it, and I liked the pilot, and it's not pilot, first episode. I liked The Defenders. It was fine. It wasn't particularly memorable. I mean, I don't like what they've done with all of those shows with, like, Madame Gao. I think they've reduced her menace over time, which I always think it's almost like they took the Emperor and turned him just into, I don't know, they took her a little too hands-on, I guess. For me, Madame Gao was always like a terrifying character because she showed up rarely, and when she showed up, it was like, uh-oh. Like, if she's here, that's terrible.
I don't think I've encountered her yet, but...
Yeah. No, you have. Madame Gao is the one that, if you go back to Daredevil, she's been in, like, everything, but she's the Asian woman who's kind of short, walks with a cane. She's almost like evil Yoda.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Because, she can really, kick butt and everything like that. She's like, walk with a cane,
right.
walk with a cane, and then, like, kill everybody sort of thing. So,
yeah. Okay. Yeah. No, so I have seen that. I'm going through it methodically, which is why I haven't watched season 2 of Jessica Jones yet. But I've got 1 episode left in Daredevil season 2, and then I get to move on to Luke Cage.
I didn't finish Luke Cage. Things get busy. I got halfway through that series, and that was really good. I got to go back. I got to restart it. But season 2 of Daredevil will always have a special place in my heart because I love the Punisher so much, so incredible.
Yeah, I mean, this is definitely the most I've ever liked Punisher.
Oh, he's so good.
I thought he's fine. I've never been a Punisher fan.
He's so good, man.
But
he's
I thought he was good in this. I don't necessarily know how his own series is going to work.
I can tell you that 100% of me loved his series. Mm-hmm. So, and actually, I have several friends who watched it and they really enjoyed it as well.
Okay.
I thought it was a very interesting, very intelligent, much more intelligent treatment of the character than I expected. Like, Punisher really easily slips into that whole, punch every problem away sort of thing. But they actually, and Bernthal, I think, he gives a heck of a performance. He's the guy that brings it alive, for sure.
Yeah, he's good. He's good for sure. I'll definitely watch it, but, working my way there. So
I know.
Yeah. But I mean, this is exciting news. I mean, the thing that they keep on saying is like, oh, this is the first woman ever to direct Star Trek. That's not true. But it is like only like the 9th or 10th or something, which is insane. And it's the first woman to direct a Star Trek movie.
Yeah.
So that's really cool. And apparently there was like a conscious effort on the part of J.J. Abrams and the studio to bring in a woman to direct this movie, which is cool. So
I think that's very cool too. I'm always curious as to what it is that specifically, like, is there anything about a woman directing Star Trek? I mean, in a sense, Star Trek, the films at least, have always kind of functioned like TV does, which is the director can put their spin on it. I mean, it's almost like a Marvel movie. The director can put their spin on it, but there's a template that they work with. And what I think the really great directors, I'll give it to the Russos. I think they're a terrific team, but also like Coogler. You see somebody like Coogler comes in and has to direct a Marvel movie. It's like he does something with that template that's memorable. So I'll be very interested to see what she does with it to make it that way. Because, we've got, the script has been floating around since before Beyond, hasn't it?
Well, that's the question. There are people who are speculating because we know that, like, basically the original plot of Beyond, back when Orci was directing it and co-writing with Payne and McKay, was basically something happens or whatever, and it's 50th anniversary, whatever, and Kirk and Spock meet their future selves, played by William Shatner and Leonard Nimoy. So the thinking now is that premise has been altered so that instead of meeting their future selves, Kirk is going to come face to face with his dad. Basically take that idea and rewrite it. No one knows for sure. It's possible that this is a completely new idea that has nothing to do with the other one. I honestly don't know which. I'm super curious to find out.
Yeah.
But Chris Hemsworth will be in it. He's signed on. And Payne and McKay are writing it for sure. And, yeah. I mean, I definitely see what you're saying, and I can see, especially since this is the 4th movie in the franchise and Abrams is still producing and everything, I can definitely see how this could be sort of a director-for-hire scenario in that television sense. And, I guess in that regard, it makes sense to get someone who's a television director to come in and do it, right?
Well, I mean, just like Harve Bennett was a television producer, and it made sense for him to step in to provide some direction, from Star Trek II onward. But I mean, I'm immediately interested in it because, I'm not the only person that makes this joke, but, every time somebody asks me, oh, what do you expect from the new J.J. Abrams movie? I'm like, well, a lot of running.
Yeah.
And stuff. And Justin Lin is not shy about the action. So I wonder if maybe, I mean, based just on, the work that she did with, like, Jessica Jones, could this be the more mature, measured Star Trek film? The one that slows down and takes a breath instead of, since 2009, it's been nonstop running. Is this one going to slow it down and let us just sort of spend time with the characters? And the thing is, that's not a knock against Beyond. We're both Justin Lin fans, and I thought Beyond was a fine movie. I enjoyed it. But it's one of those things where I am legitimately interested to see her sensibilities at play. I think she does bring something different to the table. So.
Yeah, it will definitely be interesting to see, and it's one of the things which JJ has said, which, I mean, who knows if this is whatever, but he's like, well, this is the best script that we've had so far out of all the movies. So this should be the best movie.
Okay, look, he says about every movie that he's producing, he always says, this is the best script I've ever seen. Well, what did you think of The Last Jedi? It's the best script I've ever seen. I wish I directed it. What do you think about this next Star Trek movie? It's the best script I've ever seen. What do you think about Into Darkness? It's the best script that doesn't have Khan involved in it at all, I promise. He's a great marketer. He's a great marketer, is what I'm saying.
Okay.
So, it could very well be the best script that he's seen with Star Trek. I'm not discounting that. Yeah. I'm just saying that he has a tendency to use the superlatives pretty freely. So,
okay. All right.
Just saying.
So, yeah, that's exciting. The other little bit that came out in there was that the Tarantino movie is going to set up or take place in an alternate timeline.
So excited by that because think about it. You know what impulse he must be exercising with it is, and you're the one that raised this during one of our many conversations through the years, but his original impulse when he wanted to do Bond was he wanted to do a Casino Royale and go back to the past and set it in the appropriate time period.
Right.
I'm willing to bet it's that same impulse here where he's like, I want to direct a Star Trek movie, but I want to direct the Star Trek that I want to do me doing a Star Trek movie as if I time traveled back to then, which I think would be real. I mean, honestly, it would really screw with my head if he did like a Next Generation movie. Like if they pull the curtain back and like, haha, it's Picard, not Kirk. It's like, my head would explode.
And there was that podcast that he did with Nerdist or whatever, you know? Where they asked him, like, would you want to do a Star Wars movie or whatever? And he's like, no, I've always been more of a Star Trek fan. And he's like, you could take an episode of the original show and adapt it and make it 2 hours. And he's like, the one that everyone goes to would be Sitting on the Edge of Forever. But, you know, another really, really good one was Yesterday's Enterprise. So maybe that's it. Maybe Yesterday's Enterprise. I mean, but you just got me thinking there. I had not thought about that until, you know, you brought up the Casino Royale thing. What if, and this is just me, whatever, but what if he does what we were talking about, you know, with like the Halloween movies or whatever, and what seems to be the new thing? What if he makes his Star Trek 3 sequel to Wrath of Khan that doesn't involve any like Spock resurrection BS or any of that other crap?
That would be amazing. That would be so incredibly amazing. I would love that so much. I'd love to see that because his Star Trek 3, like, does he still use Klingons? Because we've seen Klingons, we've seen Klingons through time, we've seen Kelvin versus Klingons, Tarantino Klingons. You want a bloodthirsty alien species. I mean, that would be no joke. And I could see him having a thing for the way the Klingons were presented in 3 and like wanting to embrace that.
Yeah. I mean, I'm thinking like basically he ignores 3 and makes a proper sequel to 2, you know?
Yeah. No, exactly. Exactly.
That could be amazing.
Oh, man, have Kirk go back and he's got Carol Marcus.
It's R-rated and everything. And
yes.
I could definitely see that working because we know that he thinks like Wrath of Khan is one of the best movies ever made. He's said that.
So where would Sam Jackson show up in his Star Trek 3?
He could be anywhere, right? He could be he could be the villain, right?
He could be, but I'd be willing to bet that he's going to be somebody. He's going to be the Admiral or something like that.
Yeah,
the guy that Kirk would have to overcome.
Yeah.
Oh man, wouldn't that be so great? That's a great thought. That is a great thought. Because, well, and actually that would also explain because what other idea could somebody have that would make, Abrams in the studio say, oh, wow, that's amazing. Yes, we want to do that. I mean, what an incredible spin on things. Yeah. Now I'm thinking down that line, and I'm like, that's an amazing thought because really you have everywhere to go after Star Trek 2. If you ignore the stuff that comes afterward, there are like a billion different directions you could go.
Yeah.
That's really interesting. I like that.
We will have to think about that.
Yes, we will. Yes, we will.
I mean, shoot, they could do Yesterday's Enterprise only with that, where they have to go back in time, like the timeline is altered and now Spock is alive, right?
Oh, yeah. Oh. So he'll have, if it's in an alternate timeline, then he's not obligated to use the cast from the Kelvinverse.
No.
He can recast it himself for whatever.
Right. Yeah.
Oh, that's interesting. That's that would be that would be so disappointing though. Can you imagine how disappointing that would be if you're Zachary Quinto or anybody else? It's like, oh my gosh, Quentin Tarantino's he's involved in a Star Trek movie, and I'm a Star Trek character. Oh, it's an alternate timeline. We're recasting everybody.
And one of them said that they all got emails or something like that from JJ saying like, guess who stopped by the office today to pitch a Star Trek idea? So I don't know. It's weird.
It's definitely got me excited.
Yeah. I mean, the fact that they are, after so many years of neglecting the franchise and everything, now they're like, we've got 2 ideas that we like. And, Carl Urban said, he's like, I expect that we will start shooting by the end of the year. So we could very well get this movie maybe in fall of next year or something, I mean, we could get this movie in 2019. It's quite possible.
So wait a minute, though, because I'm trying to work this.
I'm sorry, the Clarkson movie would shoot next year.
So here's the question, right?
Yeah,
and I think we've talked about this before. I know that there was talk when Discovery was coming out that there was some agreement between Paramount and CBS where one had to give 6 months leeway to the other or something like that. Do you think that's still in effect, or do you think that was never actually the case?
I think it's over with at this point.
Okay.
I think it was like 6 months after like the 3rd movie or something like that, but now I think they can both coexist and whatever, But I mean, one interesting thing that we have learned, which is very strange, and I don't know if this goes the other way too, but apparently because of the whole split or whatever, the TV shows are not allowed to use any characters from the movies. So you can't have Carol Marcus on the show. You can't have General Chang on the show, which I always thought would be really cool.
That, well, yeah, because I mean, imagine doing something where it's like Chang and Kirk fight, but they never see each other, or it's like a balance of terror sort of thing, and then so Star Trek 6, it's like, I have so wanted to meet you, Cap. Like it's it's a leftover sort of thing, but we'd have to get to the point where we have Kirk in it anyway. But I mean, no. See, the thing is, I would have I'd have too much of an impulse to have Carol Marcus in it and just never name her. Have her like walk up and like say something or do something, and some character be like, "What was her name again?" Just like that sort of thing. But I guess that's my cheap humor sort of thing.
I mean, you'd have to have Kirk in there too. I mean, the thing that I could see it impacting in some ways would be if this Khan show that Nicholas Meyer has supposedly been working on actually happens. It's like, because you figure all the characters that he created for Wrath of Khan he can't use, right? So, well, like Carol Marcus, but not that you would. But then you could say, okay, well, how many? I mean, Marla MacGyver's and Khan, they're from the show. It's like we saw other guys, but we can't see like his maybe son or whatever. I mean, how does that work? I don't know.
Well, his son had the same name as his right-hand man from Space Seed, so...
Did he?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So
I always figured he was just named after him, sort of thing.
Yeah, well, a lot of people don't... It's like, is it his son? Is it just a guy?
I think it's his son.
It's been debated forever.
Really?
I think there's like some script. We'll have to ask John Tenuto about this, but there's a whole thing about like in some scripts it's mentioned that he's this guy, but we think that when they were shooting they meant for it to be this. And it's one of those things where it's ambiguous, and
I always just took it at that it's his son, and that's why, because that's the whole parallel with Kirk and his son and Khan and his son.
I mean,
like there's a whole parallel through the whole film.
Yeah,
I figured that was just a thing. So I don't know.
No.
Yeah. It's interesting though, because we're sitting here talking about Star Trek while we're in the in the sunshine of Star Wars dominating the conversation of the Star movies and the Marvel movies and stuff like that. So
Well, yeah, I mean, that was one of the things that came out like on the same day where it's like, what's going on? Is this Christmas? The announcement of the new Star Wars animated series, Resistance.
Yes, Star Wars Resistance.
What do you think about that?
Yeah, I'll give it a shot. You know, it took me no seriously.
Seriously? Wait.
What?
You're like, Star Wars: The Clone Wars is the best animated series of all time.
That's true.
And then it's like, okay, well, here's a new Star Wars show from the creator of Star Wars: The Clone Wars. I'll give it a shot.
Oh, look, I listen, I'll give it a shot because I approach most everything in the sequel era at this point with a little bit of, you know what? Honestly, it took me time to warm up to Rebels, if you recall.
I remember, yeah.
Yeah. So maybe I'm just coming at it, and look, man, I know it's not a popular thing to say, but yeah, Last Jedi burned me a little bit, and I'm kind of like, in all honesty, Solo is the thing that I'm focused on right now, and the more I learn about that, because like Ron Howard was just on the Star Wars show. Did you see this where he did the?
I watched the Arrested Development thing.
I thought that was very funny.
Yeah, they did a good job there.
I have you now. He didn't. But and kudos to whoever wrote it, because they did a really great job. But the more I learn about I saw Infinity War, and the Solo trailer. It was the first time I saw it on the big screen, and a big old smile on my face by the end of that. That looks great on the big screen, and I am all in for it. And I honestly think that Solo could go a long way toward bringing me back to that old fiery enthusiasm that you expect from me whenever you put the Star Wars moniker on something.
I know there's a lot of people who are like, Solo, who wants that? Everything, whatever. I'm going to get excited about every Star Wars movie no matter what, but I mean, this is, the thing that I keep on thinking about, like, this is essentially, like, you look at it, it's a prequel to Empire, right? In a lot of ways. From the writer of Empire. And the thing that I just noticed like a week ago where I'm just like, how did this take me so long? Because, it's one of those things, like Star Wars is so ingrained in everything that I just think of it as like a thing. The original trilogy especially, I don't separate it at all. It's impossible, like the Imperial marches from Empire. Okay, whatever.
Right.
But like the font on the Solo posters and everything deliberately mimics the font on specifically Empire Strikes Back posters. It's cool.
Well, thematically, here's an interesting thing. I was talking about this with Craig. Rogue One is obviously right before Star Wars. It matches up exactly like that. Solo has to do with the backstory of two characters where we learn about their relationship in Empire.
So wait.
What if the next standalone is going to have to?
It's going to be the thing which I've been asking for since they've done these things?
I'm not going to promise the Max Rebo mockumentary. Okay. I'm not going to promise it.
Don't see now that's two movies which we just came up with here, which I thought I never even crossed my mind that they would be a thing, and now they're two movies which if they don't happen, I'm going to be very upset about.
But think about it. In the sequel era, we have The Force Awakens, then we have Rogue One, which lines up with Star Wars. Then we have The Last Jedi, and Solo is going to line up with Empire. If they go for the trifecta and they actually have the third standalone be like some sort of lead in to Return of the Jedi in that sense, all about it, man. I mean, gosh, I'd love it if they did something like Rogue One with original characters and they basically did a reimagined version of like Shadows of the Empire. And actually set it between Empire and Jedi. Did you ever read Shadows of the Empire?
I played. Well, no, I didn't play the game. Because there were so many different things, right?
Yeah.
So many, and that was one of the cool things. I read the comic for sure because I was like way, way, way into comics at that point, and I collected the toys. I think I listened to the soundtrack. And
by Joel McNeely.
Yeah, and I think I always wanted to play the game, but I didn't have a video game system to do it. That seemed like the coolest of all of them. And I don't think I ever read the book.
I did read the book, and I revisited the book not so long ago. It's a Star Wars book, especially from that era. But yeah, the movie without a movie was very interesting, and I think it would be a coup on their part if for the longest time we've had the movie without a movie, and they said, you know what, here's a movie.
Here's a movie.
That'd be so cool, man.
Yeah, that'd be
cool.
All
about that.
I don't think it's going to happen. I honestly think that they're basically going to ignore. I mean, maybe they'll do the Obi-Wan thing. Maybe they'll throw that in there or whatever. But I kind of think at this point they're going to go the route of episode 9 ends, and now we're going to start a couple of individual trilogies. We're going to do the John Favreau, the David Benioff trilogy, and then we're going to do the Rian Johnson trilogy, and they're both going to just alternate.
Do they have to be trilogies? Can't we go into something and just plan a movie, and then if it's really good and everybody loves it, then plan the next ones?
It's Star Wars. It's the way it goes, right?
I guess. I guess that's the curse that they've. Well, that's all the more reason to have a standalone that ties in with Jedi, because then we have a thematic trilogy with Rogue One Solo and Max Rebo. I
agree, but see, that's kind of what I see Resistance as too, right? You've got Clone Wars, which is from the prequel era. Then you've got Rebels, which is from the original trilogy era, and now you've got Resistance, which is from the sequel era.
Oh, that's a good point.
And I have to say that that's I think that's what I was like. It's got to be set, before it's got to be. I mean, I think I said that on our Rebels recap or whatever it was, but I mean, it's not at all surprising to me that it's set at this time period or anything like that. But it is surprising to me that it is at least appears to be 2D animation style, which I'm all about. I cannot wait for that. I mean, and just sort of the premise of it being inspired by dog fights and everything, that's always been sort of my favorite part of Star Wars. I've never really cared about the Jedi stuff or the mysticism. Not to say that I dislike it or anything, but that's never been the thing. I'm always about Han, not Luke. And that sort of thing. So I'm so much about Resistance. I cannot wait for this show. I think it's going to be awesome. I think it's going to be, the best of the three. It might even be better than Droids. I don't know.
Well, I certainly hope that the efforts to make Resistance have not been futile. Nothing?
No, I got
Nothing?
it. No, I got it. I'm just stunned silence. That's all I can muster right now. But
I guess we need the sound of a ship suddenly dropping out of warp. Where's the alarm klaxons for everything right now? So I had to go for it. You got to try something.
No, I appreciate it. You get an A for effort for sure.
Oh, thank you, thank you. Yeah. Well, I think it's inevitable too, because everybody else in the universe is talking about Infinity War.
Mm-hmm.
On a grade scale of A to F, where did you fall with Infinity War?
I think it's a B, for sure.
Okay,
it's really good.
Yeah.
I think it's middle tier Marvel. I don't think it's as good as the first Avengers, and I don't think it's as good as the other Russo movies. But I thought it was really good. Yeah.
Yeah.
What'd you think?
No, I'm pretty much there too.
Yeah.
Yeah. B, I think is a good grade. Very satisfying. I thought the ending was really ballsy. I like the fact that they had. By the way, spoilers, everybody. If you haven't seen Infinity War by this point, where have you been living? So I don't know,
Brandon. It hasn't reached Saskatchewan yet.
Listen, based on how hard it was for me to get a ticket on Sunday of its opening weekend, I like some of the references that they made were, I thought, very clever and very good. My big fear going into it was that they were going to fumble the idea that you weren't going to be able to plug into it without having seen the other, how many is it, 18 Marvel movies leading up to this point. But I thought that the writing was really good because they did a really good job of addressing who everybody was and how they pertained to the plot and making it very clear. You could come into this movie cold and know everything that was going on that you needed to know. Do you agree with that?
I guess so. I mean, I guess in a lot of ways it feels like one of these massive crossover events that you would read in comics, because like, I mean, well, like how I got started, like my very first one was 0 Hour, for whatever that's worth. And because of that, it still might be my favorite. Oh, and hey, it basically ends the same way. So there you go. Whatever. Anyway, and the thing that, like, sort of my approach that I took at that point in time, being someone who was in high school and had no money, was, okay, I read Superman, I read Batman, I read Green Lantern, and that's about it. Whatever it is that I read. So these comics tie into 0 Hour. Now, you've got your 0 Hour checklist, which is basically a list of every single DC comic that's coming out for the span of a month. There's no way that I'm going to be able to afford all of those tie-ins, and, you know, for the most part, I don't need that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the approach of reading the comics that I read and then reading the main 0 Hour series. Right. And, you know, it'll be good enough. Surely there will be scenes where Flash is off doing something, and I'll be like, you know, it's like, Flash, what are you doing here? Oh, well, you should read Flash number 42 to find out, you know? And you just go like, oh, okay, yeah. Okay, so he was off doing something, you know?
Yeah.
And that's kind of how it felt, like going back and forth between all these things. You know, I mean, the advantage in the comics is that you've got entire issues which can expand on these individual scenes, whereas here you don't. But it really did feel like that in a lot of ways, you know?
Yeah, my first, the first crossover I can really remember paying attention to was Inferno, the one where Mr. Sinister showed up with the X-Men.
Okay, yeah.
Madeline Pryor.
I wasn't a Marvel guy at all.
I was, you know, honestly, I always loved, I mean, saying you love Batman, I mean, like, just, that's a given. And I would read Superman casually. But X-Men, I was all about the X-Men. I loved the X-Men so much until Jubilee got introduced, and that is the precise moment that it jumped the shark.
I worked in the one comic book shop, I think, where even though X-Men was our biggest seller or whatever, like, and I've talked about, you know, Josh and Mike at the comic book store many, many times. I'm still friends with Josh, and you know, they were older than me, and they were very, very judgmental, and you couldn't work there and read an X-Men comic because they would just look down on you, like, why would you do that? You know?
Well, I'd have a problem with that then. Because that's
I mean, they did the
crazy.
same thing with like Superman and everything too. I mean, you know, they were reading like Milk and Cheese and Strangers in Paradise and Sandman or whatever. But no, they would definitely be like X-Men garbage.
Yeah, hipsters.
Yeah,
comic book hipsters. How weird is that?
You know, they were in college. They were in their 20s and, you know, whatever.
Oh, they were reading the black. They were reading the black and white comics.
Yeah, they were reading the black and white comics. They were going to see Fargo while everyone else was going to see, you know, Batman Forever, you know, that kind of thing.
Yeah. Well, you know, okay, so with Infinity War, I think it's a really well-structured thing, but the ending has... So, I don't care about spoilers, but I guess we'll be as gentle as we can with things.
Mm-hmm.
I think in terms of an ending... This is successful enough that if this were to be, and I know that it's not, but this is well structured enough that if this were to be the last Avengers movie, the last movie with Avengers in the title, I'm fine. Do you feel the same way?
No, not really. I don't.
Is it just because of how it ended, or because I'm talking structurally? Like the ending from a certain perspective sucks because the good guys don't win.
Right.
But it's still self-contained enough that I consider it an ending. Like
it's an ending. It is an ending, but it doesn't really make any sense from a dramatic standpoint. You know? Like there isn't any message behind that.
That's an interesting point.
And there isn't really any. I mean, it does feel like it's it's like, oh my God, half the people disappeared, but like we don't see what life was like. There's no postscript. We don't see what life was like after the massacre or whatever it was. We don't see any of that. So no. I mean, one of the things which I found to be interesting, because like this, I'm sure I've talked about this a million times before. Like, I'm always fascinated whenever I'm watching a movie of finding who the singular main character is, right?
Right.
And it can be, sometimes it's like, oh, this movie's called Iron Man. Clearly, it's Iron Man.
Right.
This movie's called Captain America Civil War. It's okay. It's still Captain America. Yeah, you can give it to Captain America. When you get into the Avengers movies, it's trickier because they're ensemble pieces by nature. I would say the first one, I would say it's Nick Fury. And the second one, I would say it's Tony Stark. So,
in this one, actually, one of the things it's not really a knock, but one of the things I was kind of left a little ambivalent about, or nonplussed, or whatever word you want to use, is the fact that this really felt like Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2.5.
It did to some degree, but they were so spread out and everything that I didn't really. If anything, I thought because like it kind of begins and ends with him in a sense, I was almost thinking like this is a Thor movie. But in the end, like the fact that it ended the way it did, I was like, wow, this is pretty, gutsy of them. But this really is a Thanos movie. Thanos is the singular main character in this movie.
A very interesting criticism of Thanos, and Thanos' reasoning was given to me by a friend of mine, a former coworker. I stay in contact with him. Great guy, and always thinks of something from an angle. Like I love the guy to death because he thinks of stuff from perspectives that I don't ever consider. And his whole thing was, he said, if Thanos is so smart that he predicted what was going to happen with his planet because of overpopulation and all of that type of stuff, he said, then Thanos should have been smart enough to realize that population is not a linear function, but rather an exponential one. So wiping out half of everybody doesn't buy you any real time because population explodes exponentially, not linearly. And therefore, Thanos, basically is too simplistic in his own thinking of how to handle the problem. And I thought about it for a second. And I said, I honestly didn't think of that. But yes. Yeah,
well,
okay.
I mean, like, if we just look at it in terms of Earth, right? Okay, we're at like 6 billion people now. When was the Earth at 3 billion people? I'm curious.
I don't remember. I don't think I was there then. But I know that... it all depends on what sort of what theories you hold on to, because I remember many times where the population of the Earth was estimated to be much higher than it is, or it was projected to be much higher than it is at this point, sort of thing. Because there's so many things, wars, disease, and stuff like that affects it as well. But
just because I looked it up here. You're totally right. 3 billion in 1959. So it's doubled since 1959.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you bought yourself like half a century.
But that's kind of terrifying when you think about it. If it was at 3 billion in 1959 and here we are at...
Well, listen, and the thing is, I want to preface this with saying I am not one of those guys that goes into a movie and is like, well, I read the original comic and I expect it. Mm-hmm. Obviously, I am not like that, okay? Huge caveats. Did I read Infinity Gauntlet? Of course I have.
I haven't.
But,
see?
I'll say, you know what? I'm going to send it to you through the mail because I have a copy collecting dust on my shelf. I will send it to you.
All right.
But
thanks.
one of the things I sort of wrestle with is I thought it was very interesting. They gave Thanos this sort of humanizing element of like, I'm doing this because I think this is really the best for everybody and I need to do this. And from one aspect, I'm like, well, number one, you weren't having trouble wiping out half of the population of planets, apparently, but you didn't need these gems. Like, that's really, you were having a fine time of it. But in Infinity Gauntlet, and this is not a spoiler or anything, Thanos is basically just nuts.
Mm-hmm.
He wants to wipe out not half of everybody, but he wants to wipe out everybody. I won't give away his reason to you, but it's the type of thing where you cannot reason. Like if a guy's like, "Oh, resource allocation is a problem, and we need to control the population. I need to wipe out half of everybody to make everything blah 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 blah." I could sit down at a table with that person, try to hash it out, and say like, "Okay, well, let's come to it. Let's try to figure out what we can do," and that sort of thing. Thanos in the original Infinity Gauntlet, 0% chance you're talking to him about anything. He does not reason with you. It's like the Terminator. You know, he can't be reasoned with, and he absolutely will not stop until you're dead. And I wrestle with the idea: was Thanos done a disservice in the effort to humanize him? Like, could he have been one of the great, terrifying monsters of all time in being, you know, without any sort of emotion? But at the same time, then you rob yourself of one of the best scenes in the film with Gamora and the Soul Stone. That's one of the best scenes in the film.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's been so much criticism of Marvel's villain problem, you know, and like villains lacking motivation and everything like that. And, you know, Killmonger, I think, is probably the best, you know, that they've had so far. And, you know, Thanos, at least here, even though you're like, clearly we should not kill half the population of the galaxy or the universe or whatever it is, you know, it's like, but he's got a point in a sense. You know what I mean? Like there is some sort of motivation there. And in some ways it's kind of, in a weird way, selfless, you know? And
right.
I mean, I think that's kind of good for a villain, generally speaking, is to have that sort of motivation. So to make him like crazy, you know, I think.
No, that's an excellent counterpoint. It wouldn't work as well cinematically. I can see that argument, and the thing is, again. Yeah, and you know what? This is the thing. To reference back to The Last Jedi, it kills me that I feel like I have to preface everything with like, I'm fine with what they did. It's perfectly cool. Like,
you don't have to. You
I
can
know
just let
I don't.
People think that you hate it. It's fine.
Yeah. Okay. Well, yeah, that's a fair point. That's a fair point.
It's fine.
Yeah.
It's all good.
Okay. All right. Thank you. You got me to that point. I appreciate that. You're absolutely right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm caring too much, aren't I? It happens.
I mean, what's going to happen? Is someone going to be like, what are you talking about? I mean, what's going to happen? Are you saying, no, I really did like it, but is anyone going to hear anything other than the but? Is that going to avoid any argument? Is anyone going to be like, oh, well, I mean, in that case, I think that your point is totally sound. Or are they just going to be like, you're insane, Mills? What's wrong with you? Why don't you like the movie? Even if you just said, I like it, but. So just stop prefacing it. Just say what you have to say and let people decide for themselves whether or not you like it. And who cares?
Yeah, I feel like we have this conversation every so often. Because I get to that point where I'm just like, I just don't want to have the fight. Like it's
not going to avoid any fights. You're still going to have the fights.
That's a good point.
There's just going to be a preface in front of it, which no one's going to pay attention to.
That's a really excellent point.
I mean, like if someone came up to me on the street and said, "Does John like Last Jedi?" I'd be like, "No." But I don't know how many times you told me like I like it.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's a good point.
So there you go.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. One thing I do like, though, Mike, is getting in contact with you online. So,
cool. So that I can tell you why you're crazy for disliking The Last Jedi.
Listen, I follow you on Twitter simply because I'm like Khan, and I sit there and say, he tasks me and I shall have him.
Yeah.
So where can people find you online?
Well, you can find me on Twitter at Mumbles3K, and you can also find me on my website, filmdamagepod.com, where I do a show called Film Damage, where we talk about movies from the perspective of the booth. We look at things from a projectionist point of view. And this week, I believe, if you tune in, we haven't recorded it yet, so you hear that thunder? We haven't recorded it yet, but I believe we are going to be sort of talking about what it was like 10 years ago and 15 years ago as projectionists running two other Marvel classics, Iron Man and X2. So, see, you'll get an interesting perspective of what it was like when, because everyone remembers going to see Iron Man, everyone remembers going to see X2. We're going to tell you what was going on in the booth behind you while you were looking at the screen. So there you go.
I can't wait. That is super cool.
Yeah,
that's very, very interesting. I can't wait. And I will be watching from where I am on Twitter, Kessel Junkie, and you can also find me right here on the network co-hosting Aggressive Negotiations with Matthew Rushing, and out there in the ether co-hosting Words with Nerds with my pal Craig. So with all of that, thank you for joining us this week, and we'll catch you next time on Great Shot Kid.
Join the revolution. Join the Nerd Party.